Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Stonehall Sports with me, LP. So as promised, I'm back to talk Cowboys football. And this week we have the San Francisco 49ers. We are one game away. One game away of going back to the NFC title, what we haven't done in about 30 years. And given how the year started, it's almost unimaginable. But here we are. So tonight on the channel, like last year, I'm going to break down this matchup and discuss if the Cowboys got what it takes to knock off the Niners. Also, I'll be joined like last year by Mike Crum of Cowboys Wire and the Across the Cowboys podcast. So, Mike, what's up, man?
How you doing, man? Smoothest voice in Dallas Cowboys talk right there.
I appreciate it, man. That's cool. You sound like Freddie Coleman. I like that one. That's what's up.
It's good. Everything's good, man. How about yourself?
Man, busy. As you know, in the writing world, life is busy, man. Cowboys got us up late at night, but it's going well, man. Honestly, things are going great. So I know you've been around the block here on the channel. People know who you are very, very well. And if you know Mike, where can we find you on Twitter?
At CD Piglet, guys. Nice and easy.
So, Mike, so we know we got you over Cowboys Wire, the Across the Cowboys podcast, but you have a special tie to this game for a certain reason that I'll talk about in a second. But you remember like last year when you and I had this podcast and we talked about just a preview, right? And just the history amongst the Cowboys and the Niners and how these two teams feel like a throwback matchup. It's just it's nostalgic, really, right? So it sounds like Coach Shanahan's thinking the same thing, saying that this might reignite the rivalry. So as you as a fan, right, who lives on the West Coast, what does this rivalry mean to you?
It's funny you said because, okay, so when I was growing up, I'm old enough to have watched the Cowboys win their three Super Bowls in the 90s and have watched it, like was old enough to understand betting on games and know all the players. And you know, I wasn't like young, like single digits and didn't really know what was going on. And I was just watching it because my dad was watching it. Like I understood. And my friends were almost all Niner fans. One of them lives with me now, Cisco, Niner fan. He will not be allowed in my room on Sunday because I don't do that bullshit. And then there's Muhammad, who's my best friend. The reason I'm back to work and not on disability, so I kind of hate him. But back in the day, we would be on the phone, landline phone, bro, no cell phones, yelling at each other. That was a penalty. You know, he's holding Irvin. Dion can't beat Irvin. Irvin's this and that, and Dion's the best. And then, you know, we were both winning then. So then, you know, there's that drought where nobody wins. And after a while, I was like, dude, I kind of want Niners to win, to be honest. Like, I'm tired of, like, there's no juice anymore. Like, why am I going for y'all to lose? You know, because you're not there anymore. There's no fun in it. Like, I want you to build up a little. So then they made a Super Bowl. They made an NFC Championship game. Like, they did some things, and Dallas really didn't. And then, you know, I was rooting for them a little bit. Like, I don't want them to get ahead of us in Super Bowls, but I want them to do well enough to, when they lose, it kind of sticks it to my friend, you know, like, he didn't win the Super Bowl. Then we played last year, and I was pretty confident that Dallas could beat Jimmy G. I just thought they would be able to do it. And I didn't see our offensive line falling apart to the tune of more than 20 pressures. Since that game, it's been like, I don't talk to them really about football. Like, we don't discuss it because I've been waiting all year for this game. Like, this is the one that's going to tell me, okay, how much did our team grow? You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, yeah, I think it's definitely renewed the rivalry because it literally has renewed the rivalry for me and my friends. Like, his younger brother's a Niner fan, and he came on trying to talk shit, and I wouldn't respond to his text. And he's like, what's up, man? And I was like, we'll just see what happens. We're just going to play. We'll see what happens. I ain't doing it. Now, we win, then he's going to hear, you know? But, yeah, it definitely renewed a rivalry because it literally, for us, renewed that rivalry. Coming off of the last year, the way they kind of punked us, and coming into this year, yeah, it definitely did.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a great point. And I think it's kind of reinvigorated both teams. I mean, the Niners have had success getting close, right, with Harbaugh in those years. But for us, you know, as our adversary, it reignites you. It kind of excites you also. And I think you just think about the simple dichotomy. And like, I'm on the East Coast, but I feel like you have California cool versus the Texas bravado and the in-your-face swag, even down to the color schemes. Like, it's just so perfect, you know, red and gold, silver and blue. Like they're like the perfect natural enemy, man. And it's funny because think about the success of the franchises. There's 10 rings among these two teams. It's like more than about a fifth of all titles in the NFL. All Super Bowl titles are with these two franchises. And I think back to being a kid, like you said, back in the 90s out here, you're either a Cowboys fan or a Niners fan. And if you weren't one of those things, you were not cool. You either had to have the nylon red jacket or the silver and blue starter caps. Like it was just a real thing. So to see this thing kind of reignite these teams, and I think it's actually probably, like you said, better for us because now we feel like we're in the class, like we're in the building now. And I think I talked about it with some people online to say, okay, they've been a little bit further along in their push or their quest for 6, but we've been here before. But it feels like with them to kind of make us sharp, like we're kind of getting there, like we're taking our jump to get there. So I think, hey man, it's exciting to play this team is definitely exciting. But kind of lead us into the show and the meat and potatoes over here today. So I know you saw the film. I saw the film from last week versus Seattle. So the question I have to tell you, or at least ask you about when it comes to this matchup, is their defense as good as everyone has made them out to be?
See, even in the way you phrase that question, and the way they've made them out to be, I'll be honest, I'm going to say yes. Now, there's some caveats to this. Now, I'm saying yes because they have the number 1 defense. They're really good defense, and it starts with their D-line. And basically, it rolls downhill from there. So the D-line stops the run, or at least it holds up the offensive line enough where the linebackers can run free. They have really good linebackers, and that combination stops the run. Then it gets you in third and longer passing situations, and their pass rush is really good, and their pass rush gets to you, and their pass defense is good. So because of that front 7, especially the front 4, their overall defense is good. Now, what happens if you can, 1, run the ball well enough to get yourself in passing situations like 3rd and 5 or less, or if you can pass block their 4-man rush and your quarterback can get time or make time for himself by scrambling. Their defensive backfield is not great. I'm doing a article right now, and I don't have the exact numbers, like what exactly the rank is, but over like the last 5 weeks, I believe 5 games the Niners have played, their pass defense ranks in the bottom 5 and almost in most categories, like yards allowed, touchdowns allowed, the yards per catch, all the major ones like that. So if you can get yourself in situations where you can throw comfortably, either by blocking them or being able to get the ball away quickly, then their defense can be susceptible. They're not the 2000 Ravens. That said, for what the league is right now, their defense is legit. Don't get me wrong. There's not many teams that can beat that formula, that can say, you know what, we're going to run it and get to 3rd and 3. And now what are you going to do? Your pass rush don't matter. We only have to get the ball a 3-yard gain, or they could say, you only want to bring a 4-man rush. Your defensive line's great, but we can win with a 4-man rush. So you got to blitz us, and they're not a great blitzing team. And then their defensive backs are susceptible. So while they are legit and they are as good as advertised, they also can be had, which is what defenses are now in football. There is no dominant. The best defense in football right now is the Niners. And the last 5 weeks, they've been a bottom 5 pass defense. So that tells you how defenses run nowadays. And so they're great, but that don't mean they can't be had.
There's a but. Well, I mean, look at it this way. They've had success against them by guys like Jarrett Stidham, even Geno Smith still held up pretty well. So they can be had given the right personnel and the right attack. So we say all that so I can ask you this follow-up question, though. What player on their defense gives you the most concern?
I mean, take a wild guess.
I mean, it ain't mine today. You can say Bosa, but it ain't mine.
Yeah, Nick Bosa is mine.
Okay.
So Micah Parsons in the Tampa Bay game basically ruined Tampa Bay on his own. Yeah. He had 3 tackles, a sack and a half, really, but they credited him with 1 sack. They tried to run screens at him. He batted both of them down. Both attempts they tried to do it, he batted them down. They tried to run away from him. He got tackles for a loss. Like, he had 9 pressures, which was the second most by one player in a game to him, who had 10 in week 2 against Cincinnati. Like, he wrecked Tampa Bay's offense. And even on plays where he didn't do anything, like Tristan Wirfs blocked him, Tom Brady was so psyched out by it that he was like jumping around. His feet weren't dead. He was thrown off. You can't allow Nick Bosa to do that in this game. You can't allow him to be so good that Dak feels him, even when Tyron's blocking him or Tyler Smith's blocking him. So he's the worry, and there's a lot of guys on that offensive line, but he's the Micah-like player. I mean, he has that type of pass rush ability. So yeah, for me, it's Nick Bosa.
Yeah, and that makes the most sense. I do think, though, they're going to have to slide the protection to account for him. So I think it kind of takes a bit of not the edge off, but a little bit of the concern for me. But the guy that I think about is the man in the middle, and that's Eric Armstead. A guy that size, it's just the penetration, the size, and he really just disrupts your passing game. He's a big, tall dude. He is, like 6'8"? I mean, people compare him to like a Calais Campbell, but he's a very, very good athlete for that size. So it's a big test, literally. And then, of course, the interior guys, how you handle that. So Tyler Biotis, Tyler Smith, that's the guy I had the most issue with, because he can, 1, hold up your guys getting to second level, and 2, he can stop the run really well on his own. So you got to step it up, man. That's my guy to worry about with him. Now, based on what you said, as far as how to attack this defense, what is your idea? How would you, I guess I could tell you. For me, this is based on what I saw, was you want to get them on the edges, right? So if you're going to run the ball on the edges, to me, it's a Pollard game, and it should be a Pollard game. And then, like I saw with them, if you get them in single safety high, attack them outside the numbers, a la DK Metcalf last week, and attack Charvarius Ward. What's your plan of attack with these guys?
Oh, we're so on the same page. So one of the last thing I put on here was, you got to take a couple deep shots to MG and TY. I mean, that is a must. Their D-backs are not the strength of this team. So when, like you said, when you get the right look, take the shot. Don't be afraid to take the shot. The other thing is you got to get the ball to your 2 best playmakers. The last year when we played them, Tony Pollard got 6 touches total, 4 rushes, 2 pass receptions. CeeDee Lamb got 1 reception and 1 rush attempt. So they combined for 8 touches. It's over. If that happens, you're going to get blown out.
Yeah.
So you got to find a way to get your 2 main playmakers, which are those 2, the ball. And then the lastly is, and I hate to see this because I love him. I love the effort he is. I love the effort he gives. I love the teammate he is. I love him as a blocker and everything. But we need a lot less Zeke this game. Like the 15, 13 touches for Pollard and Zeke, they need to be more like 22 to 8 or 9. Like, Pollard needs to, like you said, the edges. That's not what Zeke does. Running right at Eric Armstead and the 2 linebackers in the middle is not going to work. And tosses, that's more to the edge. That's a Pollard run. So I understand you get to the 1 yard line, you put Zeke in there and you run a couple times. Absolutely. 3rd and short, 4th and short. Absolutely. If you get ahead 14 points and you want to punish them a little bit, no problem with that.
Sure.
But he is limited this game to certain circumstances. Tony Pollard should be your featured back.
Without question. I mean, it's not a Zeke thing. It's just a matchup thing. As they say, styles make fights, and that's not the right punch for this fight. So I'm cool with that. If it's going to be a 20-8 split, hey, I'm fine with it. Unless you get up by some, then that's fine. Now, I think I've already kind of threw this out there, but aside from the quarterback, who's one guy that must have a huge game in this one?
I'm going right back to Tony Pollard. That's my guy. Like, if Tony Pollard can run the ball, or Tony Pollard even if he's averaging 2.2 a carry, and then he breaks 2 big runs or a screen pass and breaks it, and you're able to score on a couple of big plays, that is enormous. Because I truly believe that there's a limit to what the 49ers offense could put on this defense. That Brock Purdy's not seen a defense like this in his career. And so while Kyle Shanahan's amazing, as things squeeze into the red zone and things get tighter and stuff, can you cause a couple turnovers? Maybe. Can you cause a couple of red zone stops where you hold them to field goals instead of touchdowns? I think so. And so if you can get a couple of big plays, or if Pollard could just run so well that you're getting second down, first and third and 3 and stuff, I think you have a great chance of winning if Tony Pollard has a huge game.
I'm with it, man. I'm with it. Now, so the storylines from this week have been kind of shanghaied, where I think by Tuesday morning, there's a lot of praise given to the quarterback and a lot of pats on the back that I think he well deserved. But now, as we've gotten closer to game day, it's kind of gone back to the norm of discrediting the quarterback, which is totally fine. But we know what really matters. We know what he really is. So the question I have here is, what is your confidence in Dak Prescott on a scale of 1 to 10? Like, what's your confidence in Dak in this game?
Can I just say, I saw a graphic. I don't watch the show, but it was like a NFL Network show, and they were comparing the two quarterbacks, and it had poise, decision making, and accuracy were all Brock Purdy over Dak Prescott, and I was like, "What are we doing? What are we doing? What is that?" And you mean in the 4 games dudes played with like a loaded offense, we're saying that outranks a guy who's been the number 1 offense in the league for like the last 3 years full. He's been healthy. That Brock Purdy's a better decision maker than that guy. Like, that blew my mind. But whatever, like you said, it's the way to get views is to disrespect the Cowboys. So they have Tuesday was about giving all the praise, and then Wednesday it started to shift to like, well, it was 8 and 9, and Tampa's defense wasn't the same, and honestly, it'll be the same thing here. If they win here, it'll go from they beat the Niners defense, well, I mean, it was their 3rd string QB. Yep. Eventually, something was going to happen, and so it isn't even that people believe that. It's the way to get ratings is to crap on Cowboys and Dak and stuff. Okay, so my level of confidence right now, I'm going to say 7 out of 10, and the reason it's a 7 is I got to see if the O-line holds up. Dak is affected if he has to watch his O-line. That is the Washington game. He knew it was going to be vanilla. Everybody knew about that shitty field, and that was in his head. But as soon as the O-line wasn't able to hold up with this new formation, like he was worried about it, you could tell it impacted him. And that's minus that. I don't think their secondary is good enough. I think Dak's running enough to where, sure, he's going to get sacked a couple times, but he'll get away and make some plays. I think with T.Y., Lamb, Pollard, Schultz, Gallup, he has enough playmakers where that doesn't scare him there. So I think he'll be fine as long as in the first 2 drives not hit 3 times and there's pressures every time they hike the ball. That would be a worry. So my thing is I'm 7 out of 10 because I need to see how the O-line plays.
Okay, so I'm gonna be a bit more bullish here. I'm gonna go with a solid Aikman. He is an 8 for me, and it's based on everything we've seen so far. It's how he responds to critiques, how he responds to criticism. But right now, I think him and his guys, people when they have kind of walk with a certain swagger about them, and this feels so much different than 2016 or 2018. We know what the hurdle is of getting past the divisional round, but they seem more galvanized by it. And I think also a lot of that goes to Mike McCarthy. And we'll talk about him later on in the show too. But a lot of what this team looks like now, the confidence they seem to exude, either from Micah Parsons or Dak Prescott or anybody else for that matter, they seem different. And when Dak seems different, Dak does different. You saw him at the line of scrimmage, very confident against Tampa, very in control, very in command. If that guy shows up, which I think he will, solid 8, man. Definitely solid 8. So I'm going to flip sides now from the Cowboys offense versus the Niners defense to the Cowboys defense up against the Niners offense. So Mike, look, I think without question, your most important matchup in this game, forget the players, forget anything else, it's going to be Shanahan versus Dan Quinn. And that is what wins this game. And I think we all know it. So I'm going to lead, let you lead with the answer, but Based on what you've seen on film with Shanahan, what is the thing that stands out the most about the Niners offense?
All right, so I'm going to take something a little out of left field, but I'm going to tie it back into Dallas. It's his ability he can make the most out of the offense no matter what's going on. Like, he's on his third string quarterback, no problem. Lost Debo with the third string quarterback playing, all good. Elijah Mitchell's in there running fine. Bring in Christian McCaffrey, even better. Got a star, okay, I'll make him better. No matter what's going on around, he has a way to match up to where he's successful, no matter what's going on around him. And it blows my mind. Like, a couple of years ago, he had like Matt something. Some dude had like 3 straight games over 330 yards, and you're like, how is he? What is happening right now? I can't remember the guy's name, but it was like their third string quarterback. Like, Jimmy went out, then a backup went out, and then it was this dude. And it was like, oh yeah, he'll just throw for 300 yards a game. Like
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins, that's it.
Nick Mullins.
Yeah, so that's what his system is so good that he can lose Kittle, Debo, QB, Ayuk. It could be whatever running back you got, and Trent Williams goes out for some games. It's all good.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. His system is just plug in and we'll make it work.
Yeah, man. And the one thing that gets me, and I get flashbacks to 2018, it's the constant motion and the constant movement. The most mundane stuff, there's some kind of window dressing behind it. And if you don't really understand it, then it's hard for me to kind of not tell you how much it matters, or it's hard for me not to get you to understand it. Like, if you don't get it, you should get it. All that constant movement, understand your defense and your players, they're built to react to what they see. It's a natural reflex. Like, my key says, okay, we'll follow that assignment. And it happens so fast on film, but during the game, it happens really fast where they'll motion a guy. Now you have to communicate to everybody else, hey, this is my assignment, that's your assignment. You kind of jam the communication by how fast they move off the snap. And I saw that, just a constant movement. And they basically give you enough rope to hang yourself with all the time. And your linebackers are going to be compromised. That's the one thing that gives me the most pause. It's like, I don't want it to be 2018 Rams all over again, because that's kind of the setup you're getting right now. But given what you know, given the wizard that is Kyle Shanahan and how he can out-scheme guys and get them in the right spots, how do you think we start to combat that if you're Dan Quinn?
Yeah, you combat that, and the idea is they want to use misdirection. Send a receiver across the field and then run to the opposite way. So when the linebacker starts to creep over to make sure that receiver doesn't get a handoff or isn't getting thrown a screen, you run the opposite way and the linebacker can't make it over there, and they have more blockers and you have people that can make the tackle, and then they get a big play. So the way I think that you combat that, and this is what's really interesting about this matchup, is we're uniquely have the ability to do this. I think it's versatility. I think you have to have multiple pass rushers. You can't just have Nick Bosa as one great pass rusher. You have Parsons, you got to have Tank, you got to have Dorrance. You got to have guys who can come from every area. And then you have our best player can be an edge or a linebacker. So maybe on some plays, and they did this against Tampa. Micah Parsons played 79 of the 82 defensive snaps, mostly at pass rusher, but he played some linebacker and just dropped into zones. You don't know where he's going to blitz from. You have to make Brock Purdy go, okay, where's this guy? Shit, he's over here this time. Okay. The same way that motion affects our defense, Micah Parsons going from over Trent Williams to over the right tackle now is like, oh boy, do we need more help over here? That ain't Trent Williams. Now he's lined up over the center. Is he going to blitz? Is he going to play zone? What is he going to do? If he's playing zone, are they using him to set us up with another blitz, somewhere else? So you make your ability to make them think. We have safeties that play linebacker, whether it's Mukwamu, Wilson, Curse, they can all play in that slot, nickel linebacker type of role. And they're bigger dudes that can play the run, that have the ability to tackle. They're not like a regular slot corner. They have different types of DTs. So you got Hankins on Bohanna that are nose tackles. You got Watkins, who's a one technique. You got Osa, who can kind of move all the way through. And then you have Golston and Tank, who will go from DN into defensive tackle to just add more pass rush. So, that type of versatility allows you to, okay, what are they going to try to do? What's their game plan against us? Okay, here's our best way to attack that. They have Anthony Barr, who's a bigger, slower type of moving forward linebacker. And then they have Damone Clark, who plays with speed, doesn't have the instincts, doesn't have the knowledge, but you're not going to beat him outside on a run. Like, he's going to beat you over there. So it allows you to mix and match things and change things up. And I think that's the most effective way to impact the Kyle Shanahan offense.
I think what you're getting into really is that chess match. And that's the thing. I think with the Niners, they've been so accustomed to dictating the other defenses that you're just kind of sitting and waiting, and you're reacting, you're not attacking. And I think with Quinn, that's not who he is, you now can dictate to them. And based on, like you said, great point you talked about there. If I move Micah over, you have to communicate that protection also. So that's the real chess game. And it's funny, I forget to think about this, but Kyle was the OC for Dan Quinn in Atlanta, right? So they know each other so well. But great point, man. That's actually a great point of the game within the game that we're expected to see. Hence why this is the most key matchup in the game. Those two guys, Quinn versus Shanahan.
I have a strong feeling, LP, that they're going to run a lot of stuff where when the guy motions, they run the guy over with them like it's man. And then the minute the height comes, drop into zone to make Purdy look and go, okay, I'm getting man coverage. Here's what I need to look for. And then, oh shit, it's zone, and try to fool him. He's still a rookie. He just hasn't seen what he hasn't seen. So I think that's going to be, I would not be surprised if that's a big part of the game plan, is making things look like zone and playing man, making things look like cover 2 and playing cover 1. And I know teams do that, but a lot of times the reason you put somebody in motion is the guy follows you, go, okay, it's man. And it's very rare that you have those ones where you'll risk, like, okay, I'm going to risk following this guy over here, and then we got to really shift to get to our zone. But I'm going to trust you guys to do that because I believe you can do that better than Purdy can figure out what you're doing.
So then, all right, here's the question. I asked you the question for the defense, and I here for their offense. What guy in this offense, and they have a lot of guys too, but what guy in their offense gives you the most concern?
It's funny because at first, my thought was I was going to go outside the box and go Trent Williams. And the reason is I thought maybe we would be stubborn enough to just go, okay, Micah, you and Trent Williams all game. And that's a terrible idea. Like, I want him to get some snaps against them, but I would rather have Tank and Golston and Armstrong try to hold up and like, hey, you guys don't let them run on this side. Put Tank over there and go, don't let Trent Williams kill you in the run game, and move Micah around. So that once I was like, you know what, they're probably not going to get that matchup as much, I went to Debo. And one of the main reasons is his matchup is likely to be Diggs a lot of the time. And the Niners are likely to dictate that a lot of the time. They're not going to run from Diggs because their idea is going to be throw it quick to Debo and make Diggs tackle, or fake him, try to double move him, try to make moves because he's got to be so worried about making that tackle and making that play that you can make a move on him and get behind him. So Debo's ability to get yak, his ability to play everywhere, and his ability to make Diggs do the things that he's not as good at worry me, because if you take away, he's our one big gun in the secondary as far as like, we're going to take a wide receiver away. Like Mike Evans had a few catches, but he really wasn't an impact on that game. Like Diggs took him out of the game. And so, if Diggs could do that, where sure, Debo got 6 catches for 60 yards or whatever, but he really wasn't an impact. Well, now, we're cooking. But the worry is Debo does things that that Diggs is not great at. The fakes, the having to tackle him on short catches, the more quickness than the bigger size, you know. So that he worries me because if he can get plays on our main DB, what does that mean for the other guys like Deron Bland, Mukwamu, Rhodes, you know, depending on right, if he's feeling better. So yeah, that Debo's the matchup guy for me that worries me.
It's kind of funny though, man, but I think we've earned, for me at least, I've given a lot of trust to Deron Bland. So the things you talked about, being able to tackle, he's got that figured out. Being able to play through the contact of the receiver, got that figured out pretty well. I mean, I wouldn't see why you wouldn't do it. Debo's a great choice, which is funny because my primary choice was your primary choice, Trent Williams. I think if you watch football and you really watch football, you watch the film, the guy's just an animal. I mean, he's just so dynamic for a left tackle. It's the versatility. He's athletic. He's dominant. And he can pull so easily to the outside and also seal the edge in the running game with no problem. And I think that's the one. I do think, though, that you're going to have Micah get the best of him in the passing game to make a big impact because you have to have your best on your best. But that's the guy where if he's not his best, he clearly can impact the game in the passing perspective, the running perspective, for McCaffrey, for Purdy. That's the guy I worry about the most because if he's a brick wall the entire day, then it's trouble for us. So that's the guy I'm worried the most about, is Trent Williams.
He's probably, I would say that Trent Williams is probably the best player in football at doing if you took a Madden rating, okay, who does their job the best? Who has the highest 100 Madden rating? I think Trent Williams and Aaron Donald would be those two guys. I think he's that good at being a left tackle.
Yeah, and it's him, and I hate to say it, but him and everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably guys, but it's him, and after that, you can just forget it, man. Now, with this offense, right, with the Niners, you can pick any component you want, from the front line, receiver, running back, whatever component you want. But the offensive Achilles heel for the Niners is blank.
The quarterback.
Yeah.
It's the quarterback. I mean, you look, Christian McCaffrey's a better running back than Purdy is a quarterback. Debo, Ayuk are better receivers than Purdy is a quarterback. George Kittle, obviously, better tight end than he is a quarterback. You have Trent Williams and a pretty good damn offensive line. The interior of the offensive line would be the close second, but the quarterback is too important. So if you're saying, well, the two weak spots in the interior offensive line and the quarterback, well, you're going to give the quarterback the edge because he gets the ball every time, every play he's touching the ball. So yeah, I got to say the quarterback, he's still only played a handful of games. And now typically it takes you 4 game tapes to really go, okay, what does this guy throw well? What does he throw bad? Is he good moving to his right? Is he good moving to his left? Which way do we want to flush him out? Do we want him throwing sideline throws or over the middle? Does he see? I remember last year, it was like Jalen Hurts can't even throw to his left. He doesn't even see that part of the field. Make him run left. Don't allow him to roll out right, and you'll shut him down. And it took teams a few games, and then they were like, oh, okay. And then he adjusts in the offseason. So now that we've got, 5-6 games on Purdy, Quinn can go through and go, here's what we can do. Here's what we need to adjust. Here's what he does well. Here's what we have to not allow no matter what. And he could put together a better game plan at making him do the things he's not as good at. Doesn't mean he can't do them. Doesn't mean he'll never make the play. If you make him roll out to his right, he'll never roll out to his right and make a play. But you're trying to make him do the things he does less well as much as possible, because it's very likely that he won't do those things as well. He'll make more mistakes. And I think that you can fool him, like we were talking earlier, make it look like it's man, but it's zone. He hasn't seen what he hasn't seen. So there's going to be blitzes. He's just not going to know what it was because he didn't play. He didn't see that blitz before. So it's stuff like that makes him, he's just too young to not be their weakest link.
Yeah, and that for him is probably a double-edged sword because he's probably too young to know that he doesn't know any better. which is fine because he's been really he hasn't been so risk averse. I watched the film again with Seattle, and you see sometimes he has rookie traits in him. You know, the whole telegraphing throws, patting the ball before he throws it, and just not seeing guys that are coming across that are open and not understanding what open in the NFL looks like. And there's still some things that I saw with inaccuracy. He is a young player, and it might seem like we're picking on him as low-hanging fruit, but it's the truth. He's in the perfect environment. Like, he's in the perfect environment, though. Like, he's in the perfect environment, and Kyle does a lot to kind of save him, from making these mistakes. But again, if we can kind of throw him off a little bit, make him see more, make him think more, because now he's just playing fast and free, but make him think more, it'll lead to more mistakes. So I think that's the Achilles heel. But I think for that to happen, you have to try to put him at a disadvantage, which kind of leads into my next point, my next question. And that was the 49ers win the game if, and I'm going to say, Mike, you're my guest tonight, so you can have the other half of this question. Cowboys win if, but to start off, the Niners win this game if we cannot stop the running game. Because if we can't stop the running game, that means he will be allowed Shanahan to scheme these guys open and still simplify the reads for Purdy, which will kill you. It will kill you. So you have to stop the running game on the first and second down, force him in a third and long, and make him have to beat you with his arm and have to read the field. You got to make this guy scan and read the field and hit guys open and see if he can do it. So I'll flip the question to you, Mike. The Cowboys will win if?
I have two things. One, if they win the turnover battle. Which
good
a lot of that has to do with fooling the quarterback, as we've been talking about. And the other is making sure Dak is comfortable, not letting a four-man rush destroy you all game and get over 20 pressures. Yeah. And if he's comfortable and not turning the ball over and you get a couple turnovers from Purdy, you're going to be in good shape. The other thing, which is kind of exactly what you were talking about with the Niners, you can't get killed in rush yard differential. So if you're rushing for 2.3 yards per carry and they're rushing for 6 yards per carry, you're going to be in trouble. Like, you can't have a game where the Niners rush for 157 yards and you rush for 61. That is not going to work. If you're stopping them and then you're using your pass to attack and they're at 102 and you're at 65, then you could survive. But you get doubled up in rush yards and think you're going to win that game.
It's not possible, man. It's just not possible. So what I wanted to do was to kind of wrap the show. And this is big, right? We talked about the rivalry, talked about the importance and the significance of this game. So to kind of close the show out, man, I want to ask a legacy question, if you will. And that question to you is, what would winning this game and advancing to the NFC title game mean for Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy?
Okay, so let's do Mike McCarthy first.
Okay.
What Mike McCarthy would do is okay, what he was a few years back in Green Bay, when he was a guy who went to a bunch of NFC championship games, won a Super Bowl. People said, oh, he did it with Aaron Rodgers. Some did. Critics would be like, well, he did it with Aaron Rodgers. But for the most part, people were like, look, this guy won a Super Bowl with a ton of injuries. His offensive line was beat up. Like, he's a really good coach. Like, you can say what you want, but he's a really good coach. And I feel like if he got to the NFC championship, that narrative would be back. It would no longer be like, well, I mean, he's good, but he got one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. Like, this is Aaron Rodgers we're talking about. Of course, he's going to make NFC title games and everything. Now people would be like, no, that's not true. This guy's a good coach. Like, he's battled through injuries. He won 12 games. None of the Garrett teams or anybody since the 90s teams were able to do that. Like, now he's made an NFC championship game, which none of the teams since the 90s could. Like, the narrative of, there'd be half the people that were like, come on, dude, he was a good coach. He won a bunch of games in Green Bay, this and that. And the other half that was like, well, he had Aaron Rodgers. That would disappear. Now it would just be like, Mike McCarthy's a good coach. You could put him on different tiers. Is he as good as this or that? But you can no longer go, he wasn't a great coach. He was propped up by Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. So that's Mike McCarthy for me. For Dak, I'm going to be honest with you. For it will cement in what most of us non-media, attention seeker trying to get ratings people do. The non-Stephen A's, the non-Shannon Sharps, the now McCoy is the new one, or Orlovsky or whoever. No matter what Dak does for them, we talked about it earlier. They're not going to beat Tampa. Tampa's going to beat them. Dak's throwing interceptions all the time, this and that. For one day, it was, wow, did you see how great Dak played?
Yeah.
The very next day, Wednesday, it was, well, I mean, the Bucs were 8-9. What do you want? Tom Brady's 45 years old. He had no offensive line.
Yeah.
If he beats the Niners, it will be huge for a day, maybe 2 days. And then for those people that need to generate the ratings of getting Cowboys fans to watch by hating on the quarterback, it'll just go back to, well, I mean, it was Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy was a Cinderella story, and he turned into a pumpkin. So what did Dak really do? He beat a under 500 Tampa Bay team, and he beat the third string quarterback of the Niners. We saw what happened last year when the Niners had their quarterback. They got owned. He had a third string this time, so he got lucky. So for those guys, nothing ever will, because that's their job. For people like you and me that battle, people online, and we're not even including the racist people, the people that Dak's black, they believe Tony Romo's white. So they're
fuck them. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Fuck them. Thank you.
Yeah.
So for regular people that are battling between, like, is Dak a great quarterback, or is he like, he needs the weapons around him? He needed Cobb and Amari and Gallup and Lamb, and he needs all these things. To take this team that literally everyone, I don't care who you were, I don't care if you hated Dak, loved Dak, everybody was like, damn, dude, we lost Lyle Collins, we didn't replace Amari Cooper, like Tyron Smith went out, and we got a friggin' rookie at left tackle. Zeke's making $15 million. He can't run anymore. We don't give the ball to Pollard. Kellen Moore's not a good coordinator. Like, for him to take that team from the beginning of the year and take them to the NFC title game and go through Tom Brady and the Niners, real people that talk about football would be like, we don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear your Dak's not a top 10 quarterback. Like, that's the minute you hear that now, you just get muted. Like, you're nothing. You're trying to be Dan Orlovsky. You're just trying to be one of those guys. You're not realistic. So it would cement in to regular people that aren't TV ratings people. Dak's legit. He's top 10. He's going to be in that 1 to 8 range. And depending on how he's playing, it'll go accordingly, depending on how Burrow and Allen and Mahomes and the older quarterbacks, are they retired or not? Herbert, it all, he'll be in that 1 to 8 now, cemented.
So I think, this could kind of let you behind the curtain. I think the word that I've written down, the word that I had posted was vindication, because it's vindication for us. I think more so about us internally as fans and writers and bloggers. And again, if you're probably watching this, you're probably one of those same people. Let's keep it $1,000. If you're watching this, you're probably a writer, a blogger as well, just spreading the love. But the word that I wrote down was vindication, because if you're a person that really studies the game, you read the analytics, and you really dive into what you're seeing beyond the box score, beyond the hot take theater, you know Dak Prescott is a good quarterback. You know it. And I think for us who write and research, to know that he was good all along, because you look at what happened. They were a middling offense with Cooper Rush. He comes back and you go shoot right back to number one. With problems with, like you said, problems with the running back, problems with the receivers, not having a number 2 receiver. Those things show you he's what they call a force multiplier. He makes you infinitely better by being around, by being on your team. Damn the interceptions. That wasn't the be all end all. It never has been. And it's not for a lot of quarterbacks. Ask Trevor Lawrence that. So it's not really about that. But I think with him, it validates who he is as a quarterback. And it just tells you how valuable he is to this team. Damn the surrounding pieces, unlike the guy who's going to play on Sunday, was everything and more. So I think that's what it is. Now, as you talked about McCarthy with a win, and let's also think about this. McCarthy will get this team to back-to-back playoff appearances that has not been done since Parcells and Wade Phillips. Hasn't been done before. So to do that with this team and then take them to a title game that they haven't done in 30 years, it now quells any question or conversation about Sean Payton, Kellen Moore, Dan Quinn. No, the lead man is Mike McCarthy. Whether you don't like his involvement or you're not sure about who he is or not, it doesn't really matter because he's still the man in charge. He's still the man at the forefront of what's going on. So it does validate Mike McCarthy as well. And even think about last year, when he said, oh, these guys are kind of nervous going into the game, he said what he had to say to get them ready for this moment. So they're now, I think, galvanized based on what's been said about them from last year, how they've been treated in the media, and how they played. And what was the quote? I promise you my guys are ready to play. This is before Tampa.
Yes.
They're ready to play. So I think with him, it's all about tying the legacies together. Him and Dak are like this apparently behind the scenes. So I think it's vindication for Dak Prescott, also validates Mike McCarthy. And then for Dak to have a chance to play for a Super Bowl appearance, it just, again, in the eyes of Cowboys fans, and I really talk to the dumb ones, it vaunts Romo. I'm sorry, not Romo, but it vaunts Prescott beyond the Romos. Yes. It lifts him up into that stratosphere because to play in that game that you haven't done in 30 years and this guy has done it, it has to elevate him. No matter who you are, whether talking head, detractor, whatever, it now elevates Dak Prescott. And I think that's the key. That's the real thing. Now you have proof. We have proof as writers. We can prove, no, Dak is good. Because like you guys say, like the real like superficial stuff, he played in the Super Bowl. That's enough for you guys, right? So I think that's the key. I think that's the validation that I think those guys deserve as a coach and as a quarterback.
That Romo point is so true because that's a big thing that I try to tell people when I love Tony Romo and Dak. So I'm gonna put that out there right now. I love both. You will not get me crapping on either guy. But when people compare the two, I always tell them, hey, don't forget, Romo took the first 4 years. He didn't get in until the fourth year, where Dak had to play his first year. So, Dak, I tell people, I would take Dak's first 7 years over Romo's first because Romo didn't play the first 4 years. And that matters. Like Dak had to go right away. He's been to a couple playoff games, he's done this and that. He's been a number one offense and that stuff. Now, Romo took a leap going into the later start of his years where he had seen everything and he was very hard to beat. But for Dak Prescott to take this team is a lot better than that 2014 Romo team and was it 2006 or 2008? There was another
7,
one.
9.
Yeah, maybe that. 9. That's it.
9
and 14 were way better teams than Dak has right now. Like they just were, period. They just were better teams. And for Dak to elevate the offenses and get them to an NFC championship after losing Amari Cooper and Lyle Collins and Tyron Smith for almost a whole year and losing him completely as a left tackle, and then having a number one paid running back that's just not that guy anymore and having to give him half the carries no matter what, because he does other things that help you and the way he plays helps you, but still it's not DeMarco Murray at his top or it just isn't. So, or Marion Barber and Felix Jones, just they're not that, unfortunately. And so yeah, I would clearly, there's nobody would be able to tell me that Romo was better than Dak if Dak as a quarterback elevates this team good enough to get him to an NFC championship game.
There you have it. So Mike, man, last question we have. Pick a score for the game and the winner.
All right. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I'm taking Cowboys, and this team, the Niner team, is really good. Like it would not shock me at all if the 49ers beat us at all. These are two great teams. It can go either way. This is just my belief. I just have this belief. I got Cowboys winning 32-20.
So I think it's going to be a lot more low scoring. I think it's going to be more of a fist fight kind of game. And I love what you said earlier about just jamming their communication of the Niners offensive line. You can actually dictate back to them. So you guys can play cat and mouse. And I love that aspect of being able to try to confuse a young player with your personnel, your philosophies. And I think that tends to throttle the game down. So I do think the Cowboys win. Close game. And I think they win on a stop. And I'm going to say a score of 20-16 Cowboys. Title game, baby.
I think the reason I have mine high scoring is because I think the defense sets up more than one score. And I think that the special teams, if they don't score themselves, they set up another score with a big return. So maybe they don't go all the way, maybe they do, but they get you to your side of the field where you're like inside the 40 on your side of the field type of thing. And that sets you up. And I don't know. I just have a feeling that this offense is going to be ready for this game, that they know they're seeing a 4-man rush. They're going to see things underneath. That's basically what Tampa tried to do, because the minute they tried to blitz, Dak Prescott annihilated them. And I think Dak's just been so good in the zones when he's not going crazy risk. And I think that I just have a feeling that they're going to that the offense is going to play a really good game.
So I think 'cause I know we're up on time here with the clock and stuff, but the one thing that I feel like, and I think just talking to Cowboys fans and just the interactions online on Twitter, they feel a lot more confident. And I do think that the confidence is coming from playing a game, winning a playoff game on the road against, I don't think the Brady thing matters as much, but I think it's winning that game on the road in the way you did. It's built a confidence in fans to say, okay, this is different, because this would be since 94. This is their, is it fourth divisional game? Fourth? We have 07, we have 09, we have 14, 18, sixth.
Yeah.
So this is your sixth divisional game since 95 or 94.
We had the bye. In 16, we had a bye. And we lost to Rodgers.
But again, mind you, all it took was one game. You went, like, avoid going one and done in 07 and 16, and you're in the title game. For some reason, I feel like just kind of scoping around Twitter, we're way more confident about this game that they're going to win it. And I think that says something about this team. The fact that the collective fans are more confident in this team winning than anything else, it says something to me. And maybe we're right. Maybe we're all onto something. Maybe collectively we know something that we've been denying for years. Because even like your most like Down Thomas, thumbtack in the ass kind of fan, they're starting to feel it too. They're starting to believe it too. Which, if you haven't guessed, that means you believe in Dak Prescott. So welcome to the party.
For real.
Just how I see it, man. But, other than that, man, that'll do it for tonight, man. Any other last thoughts before you head up out of here?
Let's just win, man.
Yeah, man. That's it.
Like this is the game that from that time we lost, and the way that they punked us, and we tried to come back, but it really wasn't even as close as a score. Honestly, they really punked us. And from that moment further, I wanted to get to this game over playing the Eagles. I wanted this game, because this is going to be okay. You know what happened last year? They came to your house with their boom boxes and said, "Oh, we got these guys. We ain't worried about this Finette's team. Oh no, we're gonna punch them in the mouth. They ain't gonna be able to hold." Okay, now you got some stuff. You got some punchers. Micah Parsons ain't a rookie. Hankins, LVE has become a puncher.
Oh, has he?
Healthy, and he's ready. Donovan Wilson is a puncher. Jerome Kearse is a puncher. So now Tyler Smith is a puncher. Those rookie tight ends are punchers. CeeDee Lamb has become a puncher.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So let's go. I'm ready to lock it up, and I want this game.
You already know what it is, man. So, hey, guys, once again, thank you for watching here on Stonehall Sports. For my guest, Mike Piglet, at CD Piglet. I'm LP Cruz. You can catch me on Twitter at STQ Flight Crew. Thanks for watching, and as always, Cowboys up. Peace.